not been feeling well today, so we will not be doing a show. And I just wanted to come on and if you guys could do me a favor, a solid, and help me out and share this because I don't think I can share it. Let me see. Maybe I can. Let's see if I can. Nope. Maybe. Yes. Okay, we're good. Okay. So I am here in Moscow and I am live, and I will turn the camera around in a second. I'm going to walk and talk. Um, so, as I said just a few minutes ago, Pasta is not feeling well. So, I am just going to do a quick stream, just going over a few of the things that have happened today, and we're going to have more in depth on Wednesday. Um, we will also hopefully be going to Cuba. It seems like I've been able to work out my schedule, so we will hopefully be there as well. And then, of course, right after that is May Day in Russia, and I'll be not working, I think, on that day. Or it's like a set of holidays, but I won't be working on the big day, which I'll be able to go and see all the stuff, hopefully, if I'm here. And yeah, so there's a lot going on. So right now it's spring in Moscow, and spring in Moscow is like really nice. It's like in the 60s Fahrenheit, and people really, really enjoy the warm weather here because it's like, it's like a long winter, and so people are really excited to come out and do just random stuff like be out in parks. So right now I'm actually maybe like I would say 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes from the center of Moscow. This is why you see green in this park. And I I'm just walking around here, and I wanted to talk about a couple of things. So Russia is basically going to head the UN Security Council meeting. Lavrov is in charge, and so he's been pretty much saying a lot of things and mouthing off. And uh, he said a lot of things that we all know to be true. Like if you watch this channel, you'll know. But basically, how the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has turned into a uh, a tool for the U.S. and NATO and the West to pretty much do their bidding, right? To do whatever it is, and that the United States and NATO are not interested in any sort of cooperation or multipolarity. They just want to dominate. So he's saying all of this to the UN Security Council. Now, earlier today, um, they had, or yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, because we're ahead here. So I think it was yesterday. Well, the journalist arrived, Russian journalist arrived to cover the event, and they were not given their visas. As you know, it's extremely difficult to travel, whether you're especially if you're Russian. You can't go into the United States without a visa. You can't go anywhere in Europe without a visa, basically. uh, However, if you're Russian and you go to Latin America, most countries you don't need a visa. So that's just something I wanted to highlight because I think it's important for people to understand. It might seem something like it's minimal, but really, when's the last time we denied entry to a group of people? If you want to think about that for a second. Um, so I, uh, Lavrov has been going off, and we're going to be covering that tomorrow. I work tomorrow really early, so we're going to be covering that tomorrow for us. Um, Pretty much everything that goes on. Caleb Maupin's on the ground there in New York. So follow his Twitter for any sort of information uh, into this whole thing. But yeah, so that's what's going on over there. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was, I don't know if you all have heard, but NATO has pretty much decided that Ukraine will be a part of its alliance. And I really think that means that they're admitting that they're going to war with Russia. That would be a direct conflict, right? Like it's no longer, obviously we know that it's a proxy war, but it would be a complete and total direct conflict with Russia. It would be a full out war, and it would be completely admitted, something that they'd be admitting. And that would definitely escalate things. They have also been escalating things in Taiwan. And on top of that, today, a Ukrainian drone with Canadian equipment and explosives hit an area outside of the region of Moscow. And it was 30 kilometers away from Moscow. So just so everybody knows, the the region of Moscow is bigger. Like technically, Moscow is an entire region. The city of Moscow is huge, but it's smaller than that. So you have Moscow City, and then you have Moscow Oblast, and so it was pretty much 30 kilometers away from the capital. And basically, that's really scary in terms of how willing Ukraine is so willing to really go out there and um, I don't know, to really just provoke. And obviously, Ukraine isn't in charge of anything really in terms of Zelensky, but the reality is that they're willing to go and provoke. Oh, I forgot to turn the camera. Hold on, let's look. Need better light. I'm gonna go over there. It's getting dark. I guess sunset's in less than an hour. But anyway, so um, that happened, and I was just saying, I tweeted out, imagine if Iran, China, or Russia had one of their drones land in the vicinity, 30 kilometers, a few miles of from Washington, D.C., right, or the greater D.C. metropolitan area. What kind of response that would give if that was the case. And you have to really, people think that that's an exaggeration. It's not. It's like we the United States really truly thinks that they're exceptional. And if any of our so-called enemies would for a moment do a fraction of what we do, we'd already be out in full out war. So in the opinions of many, Russia has been extremely restrained. However, if they're not, even when they are restrained, you see the vilification, you see how the media works. So it's kind of, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? So um, it's difficult. It's difficult for anybody to assess at this point what should be done, because you can say, well, Russia should show them. They have never been particularly violent people. This is contrary to how we were raised. So this is a soccer field, and part of my breathlessness, I've been walking for a little bit. So when I get a second, I'll switch the camera around, and when I get a second to not move. And I just don't think that going tit for tat with NATO is the best option, because the reality is Russia could very well have got into Ukraine and pretty much destroyed it, and they didn't, because that wasn't their goal. And their goal also wasn't land acquisition either. Scott Ritter has talked about this, so has Mark Sloboda. We've had them both on our show. And we recently had Brian on from the New Atlas, and he gave a really great analysis as well. So if you haven't seen those videos, check them out. But There we go. Um, so just so you guys see, right? Like we're told Russians are crazy. Like this is just everyday people. It's Monday. People are enjoying the weather because it was like 69 degrees today, so it's like almost 20 degrees Celsius and obviously 69 degrees Fahrenheit. So um people are really enjoying it today. So, and sorry I didn't like warn you guys about this live because I had no idea I was going to do it until Pasta told me he wasn't feeling well. Um, and also I got the news that my visa is arriving, so I'll be able to travel, which is great. Okay, maybe I should stand here. Where's the where's the I? There we go. Hi. Okay, I can't even see because the sun is so bright. But yeah, maybe I should put my sunglasses on. But yeah, so that's what's been going on. So I just want to really highlight how normal it is here. People are under the impression that there are like bombs going off, that there's like, that Russia is like a scary place and that Russians are stuck in like the 90s, and it's just not the case. Every single friend that I've had that's traveled here always tells me, holy crap, I did not expect it to be this way. I thought it was going to be, I didn't think it was going to be what we were told, but it's entirely like blew my mind. And as more and more people come, you will be hearing that because more and more people are coming here. I just have to say, more and more people are going to be coming to Moscow because it is the place to be, really. Second, it's not my face. It is the place to be. God, I hate it that like I can't even hold my phone right without ruining the camera. It's the place to be, and it's really, I'm gonna walk a little bit. It's the place to be, and it's pretty much central. Before this special military operation, you could pretty much walk, or not walk, travel pretty much from east to west. Now it's mainly east and not west because the Russians are banned everywhere, and not just them, their money. Right? You can't imagine you're in some country, you cannot use your card, right? That's what happened to me. That's what happened to a lot of people who are Russian. They um, they're not able to use their card. So that's what the sanctions do. They prevent you from being able to use your money. They basically, it's like being kicked out of the popular kids club when you you're like kicked off the island. You basically like they tell everybody, like NATO basically said, everybody, you're not supposed to talk or be friends with Russia, so kick them out of your clubs, and that's exactly what happened. But the problem is that directly goes and affects the regular people. Like Putin is still traveling, right? If you want to go after Putin, he's still traveling. It's not even about that. It's it's everybody else that really gets the short end of the stick here. And essentially, you can't go anywhere. You basically stuck here, or you have to go to places that accept you, which in this case are uh, Turkey, uh, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, those places, Egypt, Africa, even Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is apparently a popular place for Russians to go to because that's a place. Obviously, Turkey is the most popular place at this point. And hey, fams, how are you? Holy shit, my hand's getting so tired. I'm just holding it. But yeah, so that's essentially what's been going on. And one second, I'm gonna turn this off. There we go. I have to put my hand down for a second. That's why I switched it. Because my hand is tired, guys. I'm sorry. So yeah, I just, people are normal here. I I've decided that I'm doing another channel as well that will also help out this one because we're demonetized. And it's going to be mainly focused on it's gonna be me, but it's gonna be also focused on like my life here and obviously politics still, but uh, just pretty much debunking like the everyday life, right? The everyday life situations, the lies, like the supermarkets, the streets, the restaurants, the people, like all of that stuff. Um, and so I'll be announcing that this coming month, and then there's a lot more coming that we're doing. We're gonna go to Cuba. I'm trying to go to as many places as possible too, and just really like show, especially here, places in Russia, really show how people are living, really show um, the reality and how um, it's not true what you're hearing, like that people just walk around with like hate for Ukraine or hate for the United States or anything like that. So it's it's all a lie. And it's crazy, like how you don't really see things for what they are until you go to other places. Like we knew this when we went to Latin America, when we decided to um, really go out. And like, I don't know if you guys recall, but Pasta never had a passport, so he had to get a passport and stuff. And like, I think, and he said this to me too. Like, since he's not here, I don't want to like speak for him, but he did say like his perspective would have been different if he didn't go to like Latin American countries and really see the reality and really learned about what happened with the Sandinistas, really learned it come full circle when we went to Honduras, because we'd been talking about the coup in 2009, and I went to Tijuana and witnessed the the caravans of people coming in because of that, because it didn't just affect Honduras, it actually affected the entirety of Central America with the crime and stuff. And so really that really changes your perspective, and you realize not everything is there is opposition. This is why, when Brian, you should watch that video with Brian, because when he lives in another country, right, and we live in, well, Pasta lives in the States and I live here, so but we've traveled a lot, right? And so when you go to other countries, it's a different picture. It's not as simple as just saying, okay, all these things are connected and that's it. Like, you can't just really be an armchair um analyst. You can be, you can analyze and be right about a lot of things, but to go to certain places is really a completely different experience. I'm not saying you shouldn't talk about things if you've never gone to places, or that you can't ever get things right. I'm saying like it's a whole other level of understanding the dynamics of governments, the dynamics of people, the cultural differences of why people act a certain way, why people don't act a certain way. One of the things that Russians really get misrepresented for is the fact that they um, don't smile or seem really serious. And like for a lot of my adult life, it was like when I because I've always worked in like or been in public with people places, and I'm actually extremely friendly and extremely outgoing, but like when I'm like in a work mode, I don't always smile. And so I remember working in like a restaurant and like as a waitress, and like if you're a waitress, you have to be like really smiley, If you're in work retail, which I've also done, you have to be extremely smiley. Almost to like the point of like you've seen the spoofs of the like flight attendants, right? How smiley they are. It's like that. Like you have to really like force yourself to smile even if you like feel like shit or like whatever. And like I understand the concept of it. I understand like the the point of it, but at the same time it's like, okay, like nobody is ever like that all the time, and people that are like that are scary. Because I don't know if you guys saw that weird movie where people were like smiling and they were evil. It's like that to me. Like nobody is ever that smiley. And um they always force you, especially in corporate environments, to be like really smiley, even if it's fake. Like, and it's just so disingenuous. Whereas here, like, people don't do that. It's almost like smiling is a sign of weakness if you're in a corporate world. So the boss never smiles at you. But at the same time, what you see is what you get, more so. Whereas, like, people in the States will smile at you while they're like stabbing you. So it's kind of like, and it's like that in the UK as well. Um, because there's a lot of people from the UK here who work. as well, and they say the same thing. Whereas Russians are just really real. Like they don't smile unless they actually want to smile. And that's one of the things I love about here because I feel like that's me. Like it's more genuine. Like I don't like being fake with people, so I'm not. And I just yeah, I value that. But they get such a bad rap and I just feel like people here are really really kind. Like they'll of course like the normal norms like walking like and saying excuse me isn't always like it's really not like the custom thing or like uh like if you go to a retail store people do come up to you and almost excessively but it's not like overly like friendly necessarily, it's more of like a sales pitch. um but like it's not like the same the way like hospitality culture or like the saying hello to a stranger is like the same thing, it's not like it's not the same. And it's interesting, but it's cultural. And definitely, Russia has a different history that's led to a different cultural upbringing and a different thought process. And like in the United States, we're like taught like we're special and that we can do anything and that we're above everybody else. Like we are. Like you're taught, like everybody gets a first place ribbon, right? And like here, it's like the opposite. It's like you're not special. Like like so it's kind of like I understand like both sides of it, but in a way it's kind of I think a little bit too much on our end where we created a society where everybody feels like they're victimized and like we are victims of propaganda in the US. We're victims of a lot of things, but not nearly compared to what our government has caused for people all over the world. And so when people say things like, oh, there's nothing we can do, um, I just have a hard time believing that when people in really poor countries are able to do these things. And the thing is, they're able to do these things because they have no choice, right? We have a choice. We're propagandized. We have um, endless and endless distractions, and this is why the whole Kennedy situation, like a lot of people disagree with me, but like he literally was on, I think it was at Tucker. Was he on Tucker recently? Robert Kennedy. And first of all, I want to say, I really do like him when it comes to COVID, his book and everything top notch. I thought that he really led the way on that. His speech at the Defeat the Mandates rally in DC, which I went to, was awesome. And it was great. It was wonderful. I'm sorry, in LA. And as well. Wait, which one did I go to? No, we went to the one in DC. We went to the one in DC. I think Costa went to the one in LA. I didn't go. I think I was somewhere else. Anyway, so the point is, he did a great job with all that. I'm not taking that away from him, but I am a little sus of who he's put to manage his campaign. I am a little sus of what he said on Tucker Carlson, where he was praising the reasons for the U.S.'s actions on Ukraine, which for me ultimately means he's going to go back to the same foreign policy for running as a Democrat. And of course, my main reason, if you watch this channel, we don't have fair elections. He's not going to win. He's not going to be nominated. If he is, he's compromised. It's that simple. Like, it's really that simple. We do not have fair elections. And I can go to bat with anybody about that. And so can Costa, because we don't have fair elections. Because the United States wastes their time literally every day saying that everybody's a dictatorship, that Russia, China, Iran, Syria, they're all dictatorships, North Korea. We don't have fair elections. So it's like, it's laughable at this point to really debate that at this moment. So people say, well, he's going to educate the public. Well, they're not going to allow Democratic primary debates, as you guys saw, because they don't want that. They don't want you to hear another narrative. They're literally putting people in jail for that. You have Julian Assange, you have the accusations against the Uhuru people, you have just increasing accusations against people like myself and others who who are here. And it's really hard for a lot of my colleagues who haven't been used to this level of vitriol. For me, I'm not saying it wasn't hard, or it isn't hard to be away from my family and to be in a different country where I'm still learning the language, but it's different when you're used to being like crapped at or called or called names at for a while. It's like it was something that I was used to. So when the whole Russia thing, like Russian whatever asset thing, it's like, well, that's I've been called that for a long time. So whatever you want to throw at me, it's really not going to make the difference at this point because it's nothing new. So, um, I, but not everybody's like that, you know. Like you do have to have sort of thick skin to be here at this moment, because you do get a lot of hate. But now that hate isn't just people online trolling you or writing articles about you or whatever. Now it's like potential litigation, potential laws against you, right? And that is something that, of course, a lot of people, especially journalists, fear. And it's understandable because what are you going to do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and, I have friends who can't go back to their countries right now because of this, or friends who have lost their jobs because of their opinion, just their opinion. And that's fascist. The fact that that's happening, it's not a normal thing. We shouldn't be accepting of that. We shouldn't be okay with that. The fact that journalists can't cover uh, an event because they're Russian, the fact that Russian athletes can't come in because they're Russian, like that's xenophobic. And all the people that are constantly talking about white supremacy and constantly talking about justice and equality are the ones pushing that very notion, because they're hypocrites, because it's not about actually being transparent on that. It's about virtue signaling for whatever team. And that goes for the right as well, because the right does the same thing. They literally do the same thing when it comes to uh, China, for example, right? Oh, it's like, okay, yeah, let's stop funding wars in Ukraine, but 2 seconds later, yeah, we need to really worry about China. And that's that mentality that keeps people going going in circles and really keeps the American public controlled and going at each other, focusing on culture war issues. Um, when people elsewhere are focused on more economic issues, even people here are more focused on economic issues. People at the end of the day here support Putin because they feel like he is doing the right thing for Russia and he has gotten Russia out of a sticky situation. Remember when Putin took hold of the presidency, Russia was in a very different position, and a lot of people credit him for bringing Russia out of poverty, just like they credit Xi Jinping for bringing China out of poverty, and the Chinese Communist Party for lifting people out of poverty. So that is something that, whatever you think of the individual government of China, the individual government of Russia, whatever your opinion is, or politically, that's something you can't take away. And it's something that we have no say in unless we literally are citizens of Russia. Even me living here, I still don't feel like I have a say because I'm not a citizen of Russia, right? Like, I live here, but I'm not a citizen. I'm not, like, this isn't my country. If I were to become a Russian citizen, then I would have a say, and then I would, I would be able to voice my opinion. But like, it's disrespectful to me when people go to other countries and try to impose themselves, because even if they have good intent, you're literally doing the same thing that our government does all over the world. Even if you have good intent, supposedly they have good intent. You see Samantha Power out there talking about all the great things the USAID, the CIA cut out, that's destroyed millions of lives, essentially, um, is doing, right? Just about all the things they've done and stuff. So I just honestly, like, I stay away from trying to tell countries what to do or what I just want to hear from the people themselves of these countries. And there's varying opinions. Moscow is definitely, a more critical, a lot of more people support, but it's still far more critical than the outside areas of the main center of the city. Donbass is extremely not just pro Putin or special military operation. They're pro, like, Soviet Union. You'll see Soviet Union flags all over Donbass on your way there. You'll talk about, they're very aware of the global situation. They're very aware of what's going on with the World Economic Forum. They're very aware of all of these things. It's not something that is ignored. And I think a lot of people think that everybody is just like us, like we are in the United States, which is why it's easy for them to give this really lazy, reductive analysis that says, okay, Russia's just going to do the same thing that the United States is doing. First of all, that's not humanly possible because it's in a completely different position than what the United States is doing. Like, and and the same with China. And same with literally every other country, like Syria or countries that are more focused right now on economic gain, on economic growth. They really, their focus isn't really, oh my God, how are CBDCs going to hurt us? I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying it's not something to look out for. I am literally just saying this is something that it's really not at the forefront of people's minds because they're focused on like the basics. Like people in the global south are not focused. They're more focused on the basics of having food, etc. And um, these countries that are primarily in the global south, that are primarily in the east, are supporting BRICS. They're supporting this idea of creating a system away from US hegemony, so away from that agenda, literally. So it doesn't make any sense for people who say, well, they're all just, doing the same thing, because they're not. And it's people who say that literally have never been to these countries. And I'm sorry, but like, you can't tell me that that doesn't make a difference, because it absolutely does. Nobody's telling me what to say whatsoever. I'm just telling you what I see. And the people I talk to and the differences I see here in the way people are, like people here question things, but it's not like the same way we distrust our government. It's not the same. Like, yes, there's obviously criticism to a degree, but it's not the same way we criticize. And I think that thought process of thinking that everybody else is like in on some sort of, you know, um, plan, that there's no opposition, because like I think that comes from a Western centric viewpoint that our government sucks, because it does. Like, our governments suck. Our governments are hegemonic. Our governments have done nothing for us. They've crushed us. They literally have destroyed people's lives. So I understand why you have that thought that all states are bad. And like, you just, you want nothing to do with it. That doesn't mean that's the reality in other countries. That doesn't mean that other people don't trust their government. It also doesn't mean that other people aren't unhappy with their government. It also doesn't mean that they can't think for themselves. You're basically saying that people can't think for themselves when you say things like, oh yeah, like, yeah, China's just going to do that, Russia's just going to do that, and it's just going to happen. It's like, no, like, it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's a little bit more nuanced. It's not necessarily something that's happening um, at the level that people are saying it's happening. And the other thing is, and this was also discussed with Brian, technology isn't something we're going to be able to beat unless we entirely end up in like a post-apocalyptic world where we destroy the entire world, right? And there's like no technology left. That's the only way we end up winning the technological war. You can isolate yourself. You can go and live in like, away from everybody, which I think that's actually pretty cool, to be able to be sustainable and, grow your own food and do your own thing. I think that's a good goal. I think more people should know how to do that. But even if you do that, that's still not going to stop a progression, evolution of humankind, whether good or bad. It's just not going to. So you can either go into it denying or trying to stop the inevitable, like people who were against the trains and the machines during the first industrial revolution did, and see how that turned out. Or you can look at it from a different perspective. Perhaps it's the system in power that's the problem. Perhaps there's a different way of going about these things that would be better, even if it's not, the pure capitalist system that some want, or the pure communist system that some want. Maybe something else would work, transitional phases, because there's no way like people are just going to be ready for one thing if they have the other, right? And I this is what people miss, is like, you can't just give a population something that they're not ready for. People have to be ready to take action. It's like in the United States, people have been saying, revolution, revolution, revolution. They're not ready for revolution. They're not. I mean, it's just impossible. You can't even organize an anti-war event without people fighting. Like, they're not ready. Whereas in countries like France and other countries are ready for more aggressive forms of anti-government protests. But in some form or fashion, whether you believe in no government, there's going to be people that take leadership until a utopia of sorts is reached where there's no government and everybody's highly evolved and everybody just knows the right thing to do. It's just completely utopic to think that there's going to be a stateless society anytime in our near future. And I say that as somebody that believes in an ultimate stateless society. Um, it's just, you can't, that's not what people want. And people in Syria don't want that. People in, China don't want that. Like, it's ludicrous to think, that you can impose a stateless society on a population, just the same way that you can impose a stateful society on a population that doesn't want it. Because if people didn't want it in China, they wouldn't have it. There's billions and billions of people. It, it's ignorant to think that everybody is just doing what they're told. But you'll hear that argument from the right, from liberals as well. You'll hear it from a lot of people who are anti-China. So, um, yeah. So there's a lot of changes going on, and I think a lot of people are getting stuck in this very, very little corner of just almost like the opposite but the same of this heroic nature that the US has. Like, for example, somebody wanting, Kennedy to be president and then, hold the CIA accountable and destroy, hegemony and blah blah blah. Like, that's not going to happen. No one person can do that. Like, it's just ridiculous to think that, do a ex machina situation, right, where we think somebody's going to come save us. It's just as ridiculous to think that there's just an evil villain that's not going to have any sort of opposition, that there's not disagreement among even the elite, that there's not like different thoughts and different people who have different thoughts and that are going to oppose it in ways that you don't know. So it's that whole dynamic. It's the same. It's just inverted, and you have to be careful about that because it's really the same thing at the end of the day, uh, just in reverse. So I'm going to be doing more of these videos, probably, like I said, on my new channel. I'm not going to be able to live stream until I have, I think, enough followers. So I will announce once I do have it ready, and you guys can follow it that way. Also, I plan on streaming some of the Convo Couch stuff there, just streaming it, and then obviously posting it on the Convo Couch because we are demonetized there. So um, it would help out a lot. But I'm going to start walking back because it's getting warmer or colder. Um, yes, and it's evening here. It's about 7 o'clock, 7 something. So it's been a nice Monday. Very, very chill, very laid back. And hi, Jilly. Thanks for being awesome. Hello to everyone. Um, yeah, and I don't know if there was anything else I wanted to mention that happened today. See, journalist. Oh, if you haven't checked it out, go to rt.com and um, Manila Chan, Manila Chan and Chris Hedges did a whole show on her show Modus Operandi on Julian Assange and extraditions in the U.S. Check that out. Also check out Afshin Ratanzi on Going Underground's interview of Seymour Hersh, where he talks about how the U.S. knew that Zelensky was pretty much embezzling a bunch of money that was sent as aid to Ukraine. Obviously, we all know this, but how they basically yelled at him for doing it. Big whoop. But yeah. And so Seymour Hersh was talking about that and a little bit more in depth as to what that entailed and so on. So be sure to check that out. All on rt.com. You can watch it or listen to it. Those two are really popping on me right now, but if there's anything else, I'll let you guys know. So yeah, so I'm gonna be posting also the a new GoFundMe, but I can't say what for. If you've been listening, you know, just to help us out. Um, because like I said, or like Pasta said as well, we've been doing this for a while, and being demonetized has really hurt us, but also we want to definitely make sure to continue doing our own recording, our own independent work. So that's what we're doing. And um, yeah, so what else? No, I think that's it. Um, so I think Wednesday we'll announce exactly what we're doing, but we would appreciate if you, uh, your help if you can. And everybody wish Pasta to get better soon. He's sick. So um, make sure that you send him a get better soon wish. There's so many dogs here. And people really love the wiener dogs. Like, every time I see one of those Nafo dogs in person, and well, in dog person, I feel bad, but I just want to like say you're a stupid dog, but I don't. I just look at it and I'm like, Nafo. They've ruined dogs for me. They've ruined the Shiba Inus for me. The fucking Nafos. Anyway, yeah, that's it, guys. I'm gonna start heading back, and I have to get ready to go to bed soon. I wake up super early, and it's not fun. And yeah, I do love like that you can walk everywhere here, and that you can like get anywhere via subway. I feel like a car would be it could be useful, but it's also like a problem. Just kind of like any major city, you don't have like parking is scarce. It's not definitely as scarce as LA or New York, but it's not always right as easy as like, you know, parking in like any other state. Like that's not like a major state in the US. I'm also pretty close to RT here right now, but technically I could walk there, but I'm not going to. Go there all the time. Okay. It's quite a lovely day today. It's like a nice temperature. It always goes down though here. So even if it's like warm during the day, it can drop like even now into the 40s at night, which is annoying because you have to like you have to carry different changes of clothing because the weather can change by like 30 degrees or so, which I don't like. I've survived. I've survived, but everybody's like, it wasn't really cool this winter, Fiorella. It was like a mild winter. So I'm like, whatever. So like I said, we're like, everything's in kilometers here. So I'd say like maybe like 2 kilometers or so from the city center, which isn't far at all for us. But because there's not really that many highways here, if you're driving, like at this hour, it would take a while. It's so much faster to take the train, and the train is so much nicer and easier than driving. People take taxis, which I do sometimes. Basically, you take it if it's cold and you don't want to walk at all, or if you basically uh, have like a lot of stuff to carry and you want to be comfortable, so you take a taxi, knowing full well that you're going to wait a lot longer. Comfort over speed. If you want to get somewhere fast, you take the metro. I don't know how to ask the tree's age in Russian. The buses are very effective as well. And you see these tracks here? These tracks are for the trams. So, so there's trams, there's trains above ground, and then there's the underground train. And then there's buses. Oh, here's the tram. You see? There it is. And that one goes pretty slow, in my opinion. But like, if you don't feel like walking and it's hot or too cold, you can just take it, and it takes you still faster than traffic because you can't drive on it. Right? You're not supposed to drive on those tracks. Okay, so I feel like it's much more interesting for you guys to see the city rather than my face. You see my face all the time, literally. I'm sick of my face. Okay. I'll keep this on until I get closer to my home. But this is a church. There's lots of Orthodox churches around here, and they're very nice inside. Obviously, I'm not Orthodox, so but I have been in them. Um, they're very nice. The one I was into recently, you have to wear like a headscarf to go in, which is something I had to do when I went to Turkey as well, because it was similar. There's Orthodox, and what a lot of people don't know is that Syria is like a secular country, but there's a lot of Orthodox there as well. So, um, you know, the taxi company here is Yandex. I don't know. I've heard that the CEO is like anti-Russia, which makes no sense because they literally operate. They're like the Uber of here because Uber left. So I don't know how that's possible, but it is. Flower shop. Russians are really big in buying flowers for like for anything, any occasion, whatever, anything. Flowers and plants, which I think is so cute and I love it. Um, Apteka is pharmacy, so there's pharmacies everywhere here. And you basically, I just went to the pharmacy to buy melatonin because I have a hard time sleeping early. So I just bought some, and I asked for like American melatonin because Russian melatonin is different. It's not even like the same thing. There's Sharma, and they're open for a long time. I think they're open like 24 hours. Cell phone shops. Oh, and most of the cars here are mechanical. That's something I'm used to because of Latin America. Yeah, you can have mechanic or automatic, but a lot of people choose to drive mechanic. My parents told me like it's so much more interesting to drive mechanic. Like it's more fun and exciting. I actually never learned how to do it, neither did my brother or sister, because by the time we drove, they were basically gone, and like I didn't push for it. But I'm supposed to learn here actually how to drive mechanic, so wish me luck. Oh yeah, the scooter things. The scooter things are very popular here. Not just like the electric ones, which are annoying, but the non-electric ones. And um, the electric ones are serious. They go really fast, and people use them everywhere. They can be really good though, like really useful. Um, oh, by the way, if you notice, the houses, the buildings, most of them are all from Soviet era, like the 60s, the 50s, and they've just been like redone. They all have the same type of balcony, the same type of structure. And they're the better apartments because the new modern apartments are not strong. They're not made with the same type of material. They're cheaper material. So it's just like not the same, you know? So here's the metro stop that I use often. And you can see it with the ad that says metro. There's construction right now because the metro is just expanding and expanding and expanding. And it's become so much easier to get everywhere because of the growing metro. Uh, Coffee shops everywhere as well, which I like. I'm like a huge coffee shop person. They do have like the Starbucks thing, but it's not Starbucks. But not here, more so in the center. So I'll stream when I'm in the center. It just felt louder there usually. It's pretty loud here now, but more loud there usually. Um, yeah, the metro station's pretty new. I think this is like 2 years old. This one, not even. Also, apartments here are a lot smaller. Not a lot. Like, it's not like Japan or China. Certain apartments there, specifically like Japan, it's probably like the smallest. Um, or even the UK. The UK can be pretty small. Or New York. I'd say it's bigger than New York, but definitely smaller than what we're used to in like Florida or something. Even LA, it's smaller than LA. Like square footage. Like, however, you get more for your money than LA. Definitely than LA, DC, any of these places. There are the scooters, the ones I was talking about. You basically download an app and then you rent them, and then just like pretty much they have pretty much everywhere. I mean, they definitely have them in LA to the point where I think they banned them in LA in some spots because people kept like they kept hurting themselves and crashing into everybody, which it's understandable. I know people like broke bones on those things, but yeah, they're there. There's the elevator that takes you down to the subway. Everybody's just like really minds their own business. And I feel like if I was in LA, people would be like, "What are you doing?" Even if like LA is like so big with like Instagram people and all this stuff, like they're still like more obnoxious. I believe it's like a hockey ring or some sort of court, depending on the season. All right, so that's true. Nobody walks in LA. It's a great song. And like right now it's spring, things are just starting to come up, but like in the summer, it gets even prettier. Like it gets so pretty, especially in the center, which I'll go to soon, and I'll be streaming. That's a cemetery. It's actually nice. People like going to the cemetery, but um, yeah, guys. So I'm gonna stop it right here. There's grocery stores are over there, like everywhere, but they the really good ones over there. Um, yeah, really normal everyday life, except people are healthier, thinner. They walk more, for sure. the portions are smaller here. Obviously, the scale of like apartments and stuff is smaller. There's no houses here because it's like the city. You have to go maybe like an hour out to find like houses. Um, and like I said before, a lot of people have like the dachas and stuff. Um, so yeah, look at that sunset. Oh, so pretty. No filter, clearly. Um, but yeah, and so it's like later here. It's like, what time is it? Almost like it's gonna be 8 o'clock, right? Um, and in the summer, it doesn't really get like dark at all. It gets dark maybe for like an hour or two at the peak of summer, and so you have like you feel like it's like daytime, and it's like 11 o'clock, and it's like the sun's out, and you're like, whoa, that's the cool part. Sets you up for the dark winter months where it's dark at like 4 o'clock and 3 o'clock, 3:30, and you're like, shit. I am automatically like far more active and far more happy when there's sun. I'll just naturally, I just more energy, more everything. One of the things that I've learned is you have to take vitamin D here a lot, especially during the winter months because there's just no sun, and that it's not good. So I do miss LA, like in terms of my friends, and I like driving. In terms of like the food that I knew and stuff, and the weather. To be honest, like the weather is definitely what I miss the most about LA, more than anything, because just the weather was great. But do I miss like the shit libs? And a lot of the people that I was friends with turned out to be shit libs, so there's that. I only have like 5 friends and my brother that live in LA. Literally, like I can count probably maybe on like 1.5 hands of the people that I would actually talk to in LA. So, and one of the things here that I try to tell people, like, like I said before in other videos, younger Russians are more like pro West than the older generations. And, like, they don't know, like, what the West is trying to do, essentially. Like, not everybody, but people that aren't, in the know. And it's like, you're going to lose your, free education. You're going to lose your universal health care. You're going to lose these things, like things that help you buy a home and all this stuff. So it's like, geez, you have no idea what they want to do to your country. No idea. So I try to, I say that, but obviously I don't tell people what to think or anything. But yeah, definitely nobody's telling me to think what I think. I've thought of this way. I've felt this way my whole life. Well, not my whole life, but I guess in terms of how much we're being lied to for a long time. So, yes. I think like from the underground, right? Like from the underground, there's heat that comes up. I wouldn't say the sidewalks are actually heated, but I would say like there's heat like everywhere. Like if you go um, to like the metro, it's heated. If you go to like certain spots, like they'll have like little cafes in the middle where things will be heated, and you'll just go there and it'll be heated. But it's not like things are actually like the sidewalks actually heated or anything like that. So yeah, my floor is heated. I will say that, and the heater turns on automatically. Anyway, all right, guys, that's it. Let me say bye to this. I really like Seattle, but also got super expensive, and for where you get like nothing for what you pay. I really do like Seattle. Like actually, Moscow reminds me a lot of Seattle. I think it rains more in Seattle. I think it's actually rainier and less sun in Seattle than it is here, from what I read, because I looked that up because I was so interested. Um, and Seattle has less sun than Moscow, which is kind of crazy. But things are definitely more affordable here, though. And I guess I'll do that in the next stream where I could show a supermarket. Problem with those is like I'll have to do like a video of that because it'll be really loud when I'm nearing the supermarket. I'm gonna go this way. Oh, if you guys want more of this, I'll totally do it. It's not always, the internet isn't always great though, so it might have to be like a film and then post. But like I said, I will do that on the other channel and then maybe share some clips here and vice versa. It's Monday and everybody's out like walking. It's kind of nice. I live 4 minutes from the metro, so walking. So I'm basically have access to everything. That's really important when you find a place to live, is to be close to the metro. You don't want to be too far because 4 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's freezing cold, it's a lot. It's a long time. When it's like -20, it's a long time. So lots of green here. But if you go to the center, which you'll see, there's like parks, big parks, but it's a lot of like older buildings, a lot of like streets, definitely less green. So one of the things that I did like about this area was like there was more green. Um, However, I might be going towards the center just because there's more stuff to do there, more museums to see. I've been to like several museums, and one of the like my favorites was the one in St. Petersburg, the Hermitage. That one was really good. There's a few here. There's a lot of cool restaurants and stuff. So I just haven't had time to upload all the photos. I have so many photos I need to upload. It's incredible. I'm just terrible with that. Like I'm supposed to be using my Instagram more, but I just don't have time for that. It's incredible. It's just so much time. Also, the styles here are different. The way women dress and stuff, it's more conservative. The way, definitely walking shoes. You definitely need walking shoes here. Like the sandals, like people wear, are like very chunky and very like Jesus-like, but like chunky. Chunky futuristic Jesus. That's how I would describe it. Chunky futuristic Jesus sandals. I'll take a picture and you'll see. I'll show you what I mean. It doesn't make sense now, but it will. Um, yeah. Anyway, all right, guys. So I'm going to go get ready for my beauty sleep. But you all have a wonderful rest of your Monday, and we will see you Wednesday. And yeah, actually, okay. So I met him actually for the first time a couple weeks ago. We actually ran into each other because he was with a group of friends, and I was with a group of my coworkers, and we were in the same pub, and I met him. I said, "Oh, everybody keeps talking to me about you, and you're here." So that was cool. I met him. Yeah. So there's a lot of journalists that are here. I don't want to say their names, but y'all know who they are if you know. If you know, you know. Um, and and hello, poodle. Um, but yeah, a lot more people, like I said, are coming here because it's just the place to be right now. I said Paris, but some people said like Prague or some, I don't know. Whatever. To me, it's like like that. And you'll see it more when we go to the center, when we go. See, it's like you're with me. Um, yeah. So, anyway, to visit Russia, by the way, it's possible. You just need to do the process of going to a Russian embassy. And there's literally the one I went to was in New York. I think there's two because they closed all of them. And it's a process, but you do get a visa and then you come here. And Russians aren't going to like stop you from coming here. They're the ones that are stopped from going into our country and Europe. So it's possible to come here. People never just think to come here because they think it's, like I said, they think it's still back, like, nothing's going on, but it's just not the case. If I went to the center right now, you'd see that a completely different story. But I'll save that one for a day when it's a little bit earlier and I just go there. It takes me like 10 minutes to get there and just, yeah, this video, a little bit more of that. But all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to share this video and make sure, yeah, just people are able to see this more and kind of start understanding that there are people on the other side of, the hatred that our country pushes, like regular, normal people with families, with lives. And the same thing with, people in Ukraine. A lot of people have been really like stuck in this whole situation where they're not even allowed to go against their government, right? So there's that. But yeah, just dispelling the lies. That's it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Convo out. Peace.